Hello everybody, my name's James. Welcome to the Planet FPL Gameweek 28 Deadline stream, and it's live. Already got a frog in my throat. Let's have fun. Over the next 55 minutes or so, I'll be covering as many of your FPL dilemmas as possible ahead of the deadline. Right, graphics on screen. Please have a check of them before submitting questions, because the answer to your question may very well be on screen. My team is top right. I have made 2 transfers for a -4. Antonio Rudiger in for Diego Dalot. Ryan Fraser in for Jared Bowen. Really interestingly, looking at my 15 players, I've got coverage from 14 different teams. I line up Foster in goal, back 4 of Trent, Cody, Antonio Rudiger, captain, João Cancelo, midfield 4 of Mo Salah, Rafinha, Jacob Ramsey, Ryan Fraser, up front, Breuer and Kane. Kieran Tierney, first sub. Was a difficult call to make, but I felt the value in the -4 for Ryan Fraser, considering his back-to-back doubles, and because I have now committed to free hitting in game week 30. Thank you everybody for the feedback and the kind comments on yesterday's Chip Talk podcast. If you have no idea what's happening with doubles and blanks beyond game week 30 and you feel that's important to you and you haven't listened to yesterday's podcast, may I give you a little bit of advice? Get off of this stream and go back and watch that. For those who watched it, are still seeing comments going, James said this is going to happen in game week 33. No, it's a projection. It's a prediction of what the fixtures may be and how it may land. It could be wildly wrong, but I've done my best to try and work out the probability of what's most likely. To the bottom right of the screen, top 10 captaincy picks for the game week. I'm favouring Rudiger over Reece James, purely because I'm more of a safe FPL manager. If you've got a preference for Reece James and you got the cojones to do it, I'm certainly not going to talk you out of it. I think Chelsea defensive is the best captaincy option this week. I'm just fairly certain that Rudiger always plays for Chelsea, and he's obviously a threat from set pieces, etc. One game of a 15-pointer, yeah, that would do for me. To the left of me, you'll see the schedule for the game week and my correct score predictions for all 14 games taking place in game week 28. And below me, you'll see 5 pages worth on the benching dilemmas screen, which I'll pull up for you in order now. So, page 1 will be Dennis over Pukki, Pukki over Cancelo, Cancelo over Ramsey, Ramsey over Gelhardt. Page 2, Gelhardt over Williams, Williams over Lacazette, Lacazette over Saka, Saka over Maupay. Page 3, Maupay over Bowen, over Fernandes, over Tierney, over Antonio. Page 4, Antonio over Weghorst, over Gallagher, over Dyer, over Cucurella. And for the keepers, Dubravka over Foster, over Ramsdale, over Sanchez, over De Gea. Where you see that on screen, the player with the tick is obviously the preferred option between the 2 players. And below me, you'll right at the bottom on the grey ticker, you will see next 5 fixtures for all 20 Premier League clubs. Blue obviously indicates a double game week. As ever, shout out to my man on the graphics, FPL Captain. Give him a follow on Twitter, any other social media he might be on, although I don't think he is on any. Right, let's get this show on the road. I will try and cover as many of your questions as possible. Please try and avoid repeat questions if I'm answering similar questions for somebody else. Right, let's get on with this. TJ Powell says, hey James, hope you're well. One question, do I go Trossard and Foden to Fraser and Mount for a -4? Got Rudiger and will free hit in 30. I mean, yeah, sounds reasonable to me, mate. There's upsides on both of them. Obviously, you lose the Trossard double next week, which I've decided to keep for the moment. Although I may even reassess that this week and still get rid of him next week. So I'm going to say yes, man. I do think Foden starts for City tomorrow. But yeah, there's immediate upside on that. I'd go for it. TJ also says, also everyone like the stream and sign up for Patreon. Yesterday's Chip Talk podcast was originally going to be a Patreon-only podcast on Thursday. I'm not going to bullshit anyone. There will be more pods like that on Patreon between now and the end of the season. And you get my planner. Holostamos says, hello James, good morning. On wildcard, need 15 spot mainly for bench boost 29. Options are Gordon, Martinelli and Odegaard. Depends what you bench push 29. probably go Martinelli, mate. I think that's probably what I'd chance, to be very honest with you. I think, the upside of it. I did a few people talking Odegaard, and to be fair, I know Adam Pritchard, our Arsenal correspondent, last night tweeted about Odegaard and saying, yeah, it's fine, it's decent and stuff, but yeah, I'd chance Martinelli, sod it. FPL Invincible says, morning James, I have used my free transfer to bring Rudiger already. Do you think -4 hit is worth it for Gabriel to James to double up on Chelsea? I'm playing bench boost this week. Yes, but of course, where does that leave you for next week? Do you want Gabriel back for next week? That's where the answer lies, mate. Andy Max says, morning James, will Thiago Silva play both games with Christensen a doubt and a 5-day gap between games? Probably. Is the honest answer, probably. Whether he plays for you in game week 29 as well against Newcastle was obviously a little bit more doubtful because they didn't have Lille 3 days after that as well. Will Thiago play Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday? It's a guessing game, and that applies to a lot of Chelsea players, doesn't it? So he may pick the team on Thursday at Norwich based on, okay, this is the one I want to rotate. The concerning thing about Norwich on Thursday is if you look at the team Liverpool picked against Norwich and the team that Manchester City picked against Norwich over the last couple of weeks, those two clubs both identified and went, we can take the chance against Norwich. Chelsea might do the same. Aman Khan says, hi, I plan to bench boost this game with Foster, Manquillo, Cody and Fraser, but Cole Walker-Peters, who is injured, is in my starting 11, may not start in the double. Can I still bench boost without transferring him out? No. It's nothing to do with Cole Walker-Peters. I don't know if Javier Manquillo is going to play for you at all. Reality, Emil Kraft's played the last couple. They've kept back-to-back clean sheets. That would massively be concerning me more than whether Cole Walker-Peters is available. So if you lose both of them two, what are you down to? A bench of Fraser and Foster. Is it worth it? No, it's probably not. Not for me. I think Manquillo's a better option for Newcastle than Emil Kraft, but I think Eddie Howe's into rewarding his players at the moment. Miena Sidom says, hello from Canada. Would you bench boost Sanchez, Saka, Cancelo, Weghorst? Thank you for the help and wish you have a great game week. No, I wouldn't. I only like 2 of them 4. Lin Tian Bao says, hi James, as expected, almost everyone is going for Chelsea defenders. I can only get to 1 by selling Cancelo or Dean, not free hitting in game week 30. Should I do either or just ignore Chelsea? Good luck this game week. I would consider selling Cancelo. You're probably going to want Luca Dean on your strategy for game week 30. So I understand you're not going to want to move that on at the moment. One of the things I was discussing with Suj about Cancelo was, and I can't rule out selling him next week for Andy Robertson, for example. He's there at the moment. Looking at it and going, okay, Palace 29. I'm now free hitting 30, which adds to the appeal of keeping him, actually. If you're not, then you can bin him. 31's Burnley, 32 they've got Liverpool, 33 I will probably be free hitting. So I've considered looking at doing it without me now committing to free hitting in game week 30. Probably means he's likely to stay. But I think for those not free hitting in 30, and especially if you've got that wild card left, consider binning. Don't keep him for the sake of you've got value in him, because reality is if you have to go back and buy João Cancelo at 7.1, you're still buying him at great value. Henrik Jorgensen says, morning James, the best of luck to you this double game week and to you. Warnock says, best weeks remaining to use free hit. Original plan was 30 and 33, but 30 has landed better than expected to not use free hit. So again, discussed this massively yesterday. The ones I was looking at is 30, 33, 37. Andy Max says, captain Sarr or James for the upside. If you've got Reece James and you haven't got Rudiger, I think that's straightforward. You go for it. Joey B93G says, morning, -4 Foden out for Rafinha. Yes, quite like that. Zaris says, I activate my wildcard. Best 3-4 picks for long term. Greetings from Greece. You help us a lot. Long term. Yeah, but not for now. It's probably for maybe next week and game week 30. So I'll throw some names out there for you might not be expecting. Jordan Pickford, Jamie Vardy. These are not options for now. I think in terms of your assessment for this week, you can't think too long term, because the game's going to change beyond game week 30 again. That's why a lot of people say, well, you can't wildcard in 34, 35 because you don't get enough game from the wild card. Well, I think this year it's going to work out similar, where you're only going to get 4 or 5 weeks worth of it, and then actually you're going to want to blow it up again is my opinion. So to be honest, in terms of long-term picks for now, in terms of what you might target this week, I will say Rafinha, Antonio Rudiger, Jose Sarr in goal, up front, Breuer. Emily Sissoni says, hi James, going Zaha to Rafinha, would you do Fernandes to Son and Cancelo to Rudiger -8, or Fernandes to Ramsey and King to Kane -8, not playing free hit game week 30? I'd want to go to Kane option. It's definitely going to be Kane over Son for me at this stage, in my opinion. Vivek Gore says, hi James, currently on free hit. Which pair do you prefer? Havertz, Mount, and Havertz or Mount and JWP, or Havertz, Mount and Willock? JWP option, mate. I mean, I've gone Fraser over Willock. I think there's viability in both. I didn't want to go James Ward-Prowse personally, but I probably would have picked him over Willock. I just really like what I've seen from Ryan Fraser the last couple of weeks, and I'm well aware it could fall flat on its face. Luke Hopkins says, morning Jay, took -12. Would you start Foden or Cancelo? Also just on split for captain, Rafinha or Rudiger. I think I'm going to go with my boy all the best, mate. Which one's your boy? Probably Rafinha. I've gone with Rudiger, so it's fairly straightforward. I would not want to bench João Cancelo in any game week ever. Hasselbank's win, most overrated player in the Premier League. Cristiano Ronaldo. That's so harsh. Talking about one of the greatest players of all time there, James. Most overrated player in the Premier League. Someone everyone rates who I'm just not big on. Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to stick with that. Steve Greenwood, cheers James. I listened to Clash of Correspondence this week and didn't catch this. I foolishly bought Emi Buendia a few weeks back and hold him because of the double, but will he play? Well, Lee Jackson's opinion on the Villa versus Southampton podcast on Thursday was probably not. He'll probably likely stay with a winning team that plays against Brighton. Dylan Ferner Froze says, hi there James mate, I'm on my wild card. Would you go for a combo of Mount and Silva or Ward-Prowse and James? Appreciate you. I would probably go to Mount combo. Andy Max's thoughts on Kulu for next week. Yeah, decent option. We're certainly going to be talking about him over the next week or so, I'm sure. Shrinket Kale says, and welcome to Patreon, my friend. Hi James, do you think bench boost with Sanchez, Lacazette, Ramsey, Williams sounds worth it? Basically, have 3 Arsenal, 3 Liverpool, Son, Sanchez, single game week. I'm going to say no, mate. I would, just principal idea, I would always want 2 goalkeepers on a bench boost. So I'm going to say no, unfortunately, mate. You obviously do have doublers there in Ramsey and Williams. They're not fantastic. Ramsey, I mean, it's great for this week. Williams, the first fixture appeals for Norwich, actually. That's why Brandon Williams is quite high up on the benching dilemma screen. But no, I think it's just short, in my opinion, my friend. What No Graphics says, hello, James. Bowington Mount -4 for long term. Fine. The only thing I'd say on that is, and I'm very conscious of this in myself, in the fact that I've sold Jared Bowen, I may well buy Bowen back in game week 31, and that's part of my possible thinking at the moment. Gary Baker says, hi James, what are your thoughts on Wood for a 2-week punt to replace Veghorst? I'm bench boost this week. I'd prefer other options this week than Wood. Jimenez, the Southampton forwards, I would prefer than Chris Wood at the moment. Not a lot of people saying it's coming. We've got Wood. It should be, shouldn't it? I'm not so convinced, actually, at the moment. Ritwick says, best goalkeeper on a wild card with Dubravka, Schmeichel, Sarr or Ramsdale. Honestly, truthfully, I had this question a few times yesterday. If I was on wild card right now, I would be going Ramsdale and Foster. That's still the way I'd be going. Double this week, double next week. Covers you for 30 if you haven't got the coverage. That's the way I'd be thinking. If I was free hitting 30 and wild carding now, I would maybe look at that slightly differently. A few others to consider is Schmeichel. But you have to remember with Schmeichel, the double for Leicester's probably not coming until 33. It's a little bit of a way off, and it's gains with other people like Ramsdale between now and then. So honestly, if I was wildcarding, my keepers right now would still be Ramsdale and Foster, with the idea of knowing that I could end up moving it. Don't be scared to move the goalkeepers, right? It's upside in them. Oscar says, prediction for James minutes this game week. Not you. Mine is 0. Reece James. Generally, my instinct is he probably starts both. But I don't have any real confidence in that. So I think a realistic kind of prediction for Reece James minutes this week would be around about the 140 to 150 mark. Vivek Gore says, would you prefer Adams and Breuer double lot on free hit or just go for one? I'd probably just go for one, because I think if I was free hitting, I'd still go with Kane. But I don't mind it. I don't mind if you'd wanted to go both on both. I'm okay with it. Ross Johnson says, hi James, good morning. Son, Winks, Skip and Matt Doherty have all been captured by Arsenal. But which 1998 top 10 hit is being played on loop? Who's first to crack to reveal Conte's tactics? Son. Jonathan Brown says, am I crazy for wildcard Havertz and Lukaku in for this double? No, not crazy. I imagine Lukaku will have you pulling your hair out, but no one's talking about him, right? What an amazing differential if it goes well. Kartik Rao says, is 5 double game week players enough for this game week? As ever, mate, this is a waste of time question, in fairness, because it's more important about who are your 6 single game week players. If you're sitting there with treble Liverpool, Kane, Son and Cancelo, for example, great. Doesn't matter. Finn122 says, thoughts on King Kai, not a king. Chelsea Norwich brings many of us into a sweat, not going there. Andrew Gronlin says, hi James, with Ismail Assar's injury I'm tempted to play João Pedro, but this would mean benching a single game week player from Trent, Robertson, Cancelo, Sonny or KDB. Please save me before I do something stupid. I wouldn't do it. I actually don't think he'll start. I've got Cucho as my predicted man to come in for Watford, which will probably move Dennis right and King through centre with Cucho left. I know one of our patrons, Watford fan Joe Finley-Badder, you may regularly see in the chat, I think he's still selling João Pedro this week. So no, I wouldn't go there, mate. Alistair Coper says, would you do Robertson to James Rudiger for free? Might reverse it next week, potentially. Usually I wouldn't do a move like that, but think a Chelsea defender is the best captaincy option. Cheers. You've answered your own question, Alistair. Lee Thompson says, hi James, Robertson to Rudiger for free or roll? Again, a little bit like the previous question, Alistair's saying he's happy to get Robertson back next week. If you're happy to be of the same position, or you have a plan for a different Liverpool player, be it Jota, Diaz or something like that, crack on, mate. Garlic25 says, Kane and Fraser or Son and St. Maximin on wildcard. Kane, Fraser, mate. FPL Kaka, James, great pod yesterday. We are eternally grateful. Do you think Mendy is being slightly overlooked in general? Definitely plays twice in the double if you cover your second keeper in 30. The point is, there's so many good goalkeeper options in and around the 5 million range at the moment who are options. Ramsdale, Lloris, De Gea has been, probably people like myself probably going to look to move on. I'm highly likely to sell De Gea for Ramsdale, Lloris or Pickford ahead of game week 29. I need to work it out. So do you really want to pay the maximum for Mendy, the extra 1 million, just because you know he'll play twice? And also, further down the line, if Chelsea continue to progress in the Champions League, is there a chance, which happened last season, that Kepa plays the odd league game in the running, knowing that they'll have nothing to play for? So I'm not massively keen on it, my friend. In terms of this week, like specifically, yeah, great option. If I was free hitting, it would be Mendy or Sarr. Nick says, morning James, looking at doing Mitchell and Trossard to Rudiger, James, trying to work out, and Fraser, okay. So Rudiger or James and Fraser will be free hitting in game week 30. So you want to do that for a -4. As don't have quite enough just to do Mitchell to Rudiger, James, thoughts. Great. I mean, it's not too dissimilar to what I've done, right? I think Palace players are completely expendable now, all of them. They've got a terrible fixture run coming up. No double likely on the horizon anytime soon. Don't play in game week 30. Shit fixtures. This is a good week to bomb anything you've got with Palace out, I think. And that includes Gallagher. On our Patreon podcast yesterday, Suj was talking about benching Conor Gallagher, which is fine. But I was trying to talk him into the upside of taking a hit to actually remove him. I don't know what he's going to do with that. Stanislav Lapin says, morning James, appreciate your hard work. Who would you start of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Sanchez or Bowen? Don't want to start Bowen, but looks like it's the reasonable move. Should sell Sanchez next week despite the 2 games. I mean, yeah, I would start Bowen ahead of Calvert-Lewin. I presume Sanchez, you're saying Davinson Sanchez? I'm going to guess. I mean, I don't think it starts, mate. So I think by default it's got to be Bowen. I don't actually think Calvert-Lewin will start either. Lampard's hopeful that he would train over the weekend. Obviously, as the game is Monday, it will give him a chance. But I think Everton might go with 4-5-1 again on Monday night, and I don't think it's a guarantee that Calvert-Lewin would start in that case. Ritwick says, which two to play from TAA, Salah, Kane and Saka? Oh, wow, what a question. I mean, yeah, let's play Saka. Honestly, from that, definitely Mo Salah. And you toss your coin between Harry Kane and Trent. I think the answer to that probably would lie in, do you expect a Liverpool clean sheet this week? If so, then it's Trent. I have predicted one myself. But Kane has an extremely good historical record against Everton as well. So I probably would go Salah Kane, but I could never be benching Trent Alexander-Arnold in any game week ever. And honestly, if you're benching TAA over something like Jacob Ramsey or something, like, don't play Trent. Ross Johnson says, which three current FPL assets would you choose to play in Rainbow the Musical? Who's your Zippy, George and Bungle? Which manager would be Jeffrey? Jesus Christ. Grandpa. I'd be Zippy. Alan Holland says, morning James, would you do Lacazette to Adams, Robertson to Rudiger, or neither/both -4? Bench boost this week. -4, mate. Crack on. Ross Johnson says, if it's bench boost this week, crack on. Ross Johnson says, which Mr. Nice Guy content creator would casually pop a child's balloon in rage due to missing the FPL haul? As Suj, Let's Talk Andy, or Ross Raptor? Yeah, all of them. I don't think Suj would, actually, in fairness. Suj has got too kind of a heart, actually. He would only do it if no one was looking. As wouldn't give a shit. Ross, yeah, I think Andy would do it. Loads. I think a lot. I would. Hamish Holmes says, morning chief, are you making any transfers in Sky this weekend? I don't know, mate. I'm going to have a look at the end of this stream. I haven't had time. I kind of finalised my FPL ideas at about 1 o'clock last night. So it's probably no. And I'm probably going to go into attack mode on Thursday. But I will have a look at 11 o'clock-ish. I'm currently bust on Salah captain today. Cancelo tomorrow. Harry Kane Monday. Hamish says, really want Chelsea players, but not sure there's anyone I want to remove, even for Thursday. The one I'm going to consider, Hamish, I'm going to have a look at is moving Gallagher to Rudiger today. But I haven't properly looked at it yet. My instinct is I probably won't do it, which is going to be really contradictory to those who listen to FPL. The fact I've said bomb Gallagher out. The Sky's a completely different format and setup. Craig Wilson says, good luck all. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, Craig. Josh says, hi, James. Do you think the fact Rafinha has not managed a double-digit haul all season and only won over the whole of last season should come into our thinking for captaincy? No. Got a new manager, mate. Got to play a different system. Rafinha is likely to be inside and a little bit more central the majority of the games. He ain't going to be holding the touchline anymore. He's going to be front and centre of everything Leeds try and do, in my opinion. So no. The historical of that is irrelevant now. Leeds might go on and run a clean sheet. I highly doubt it from my investigative stuff I did. And I did a video for an advanced tier patrons this week on what we can expect from Jesse Marsh. The good news is I think Leeds will still be quite fun to watch. Just a little bit different, in all honesty. Right, it's about half hour of deadline, guys. I'm just going to have a quick check to see if I've got any messages that might be useful for you. I think that's probably a no by the looks of it. Patrons, if you're listening, you know where to get me on the DMs if there's anything useful that comes in. Ray Qureshi says, morning, James. Just wanted to know what's the least players that you would think is safe for blank game week 30. I currently have 8 on my wild card. Love you as always. That's fine, mate. And at that stage as well, obviously, when you get there, -4 for 2 players with fixtures is obviously fine. That may already be part of your plan. It's fine. It's more about covering up, right? The big problems in game week 30 are going to be, most people are going to have some Arsenal defensive coverage. Most people are going to have some Wolves defensive coverage. Most people are going to end up with Son and Kane. The rest is going to be fairly kind of innocuous, I think. So I wouldn't stress too much, mate. Those are the main ones you want to cover. The issue for a lot of people are going to be, and this is what I've found, is I can't get to Son. And that's not the sole reason why I've decided to free hit in 30. I've just decided, as I discussed on that podcast yesterday, I wanted to look at it and say, can I get a kind of net 25 plus point gain by free hitting in that week? And I think it's close. from what my team would be to what I kind of plan to free hit in my mind at the moment. But I also factored in the transfers that I'd need to make in 28-29 and the impact of that towards that game week 30 game. And also game week 31 as well. And I've decided it's worth it. But yeah, 8-9, game week 30. It's fine, mate. Zaris says, which are your best picks no matter the cost? Adams or Breuer, Saiss or Cody, Dean or Cash? No matter the cash, probably Adams over Breuer. Saiss over Cody. Just a little bit more offensive set play threat. And Dean over Cash. I think as Lee summed up really well on COTC. The set pieces just give him a slight edge. Zaris also says, like this page, guys, and subscribe. James is our god. I'm no god, but I can see less than, coming up to 550 of you in this chat, and I can see under 100 likes. I mean, guys, it costs nothing to hit the thumb, spread a little bit of the planet love, hit the sub button while you're there as well. Come on, let's get it up, kids. Asil Salem says, hi, James. Thanks for the great content. Would like to know your thoughts on Thiago Silva. Still one of the best centre-backs in the world, is my first thought. I'm thinking of going with Silva and Saka instead of Rudiger and Martinelli. I also have Reece James on my wild card. I think that's okay, mate. Saka is a better call than Martinelli at the moment, but I think you're going that way because it's affordable. Thiago Silva, there is a risk of the Norwich-Newcastle fixtures that he doesn't play both. Remember, the first game is Burnley. He definitely plays, I think, today. Rudiger, he just looks like he's going to play every single game for Chelsea at the moment. He's a man mountain, isn't he? He's a brilliant athlete. So, but in terms of like when they're going to play, Thiago Silva is just as good as an asset as Rudiger. I don't mind it, Asil, if that's the way you want to go. Rob Pick says, bench one of Cancelo, Robertson, King. Thanks and good luck, mate. Are you trying to insult my intelligence, mate? Honestly, mate, from that, I'd bench King. Meninda says, what do you think of starting Mount Kai on wildcard, then moving to Jota next week, Maddison in the blank? Alt is starting with 3 Chelsea, then moving to Robertson, but having no Leicester in the blank. It's fine if it's part of your plan. Just remember something really important with that kind of setup, Meninda. You are completely blocking in the rest of your squad to stay. In terms of, you go, right, midfielder in now, midfielder in next week, Maddison in 30. You're blocking yourself. Are you really going to be happy with everything else? If so, crack on, mate. Stian says, hello, James. -8 already, but honestly thinking about Elise to Rafinha because of his double. Nice fixture in 29 and covers me for 30 as well. Would mean benching Cancelo this game week thoughts. Oh, fuck. I was all set to say yes, mate. Benching Cancelo. Stian, I know you. Do it. Rick says, best Spurs defender out of Davis, Dyer or Romero for long term. Davis is the cheapest. Tom Dart should bring in James or Kilman. I'm not intending on playing my free hit in game week 30. Well, that depends on the rest, I guess, Tom. You got to weigh that up. And your 2 fixtures now. Who do you fancy more, James or Kilman? I think the answer is Reece James. What about next week? If James does get the double, does he play 29? It's not the best fixture for Kilman, away to Everton next week, but certainly chance of a clean sheet. However, you may bench him. Depends on the rest of your squad. Game week 30, obviously, you've got Kilman. Game week 31, they both have good fixtures. James is better, but again, question marks. Does he start? So I think the answer there, Tom, lies in captaincy. Are you captain Reece James? Because if you're captain Reece James, it has to be Reece James. Thanks. Love the handle, mate. Rafinha or Coutinho? It's Rafinha for me. Stian says, and by the way, you're awesome. We love you. I love you too, mate. Praise says, hello, James. How are you? Very well, thank you, mate. Do you think Coutinho is worth bringing... Tottenham can't ruin my weekend till Monday. Do you think Coutinho is worth bringing in this game week? And what Chelsea midfield option do you think is the best? Would you rather Coutinho or Mount or Havertz? Mount. There you go. There's your answer. Alfredo Demetrius says, which one should I choose? Mount and Wood or Fraser and Richarlison? Or Wood, Prowse and Richarlison, keeping both game week 28 and game week 29 in mind? You want to buy Richarlison this week? I prefer the Fraser option. Not in love with any of them, mate. Praise says, Watkins or Jimenez, who do you feel is a better option, and what Newcastle assets do you fancy for this game? I'm really considering a move for Willock. Willock's fine. Got preference for Fraser. clear because that's who I've gone for. Jimenez, better double. He's not in good form, it's worth saying. I think prior to the benching at West Ham, I think Raul Jimenez would have been massive this week. I think if Jimenez had played at West Ham and Chelsea didn't have the double, I think Jimenez would have been the most captain player this week, and yet he's now quite far down my top captaincy picks. But between the two, I would go Jimenez at this stage. Better double, better 29 fixture, better 30 fixture, better 31 fixture. So that's why I'd go that way. Basbestos says bench Ronaldo or Smith Rowe. Wow! How on earth has my season landed on a dilemma like this? Good luck, buddy. I'd bench Smith Rowe. Purely on the basis that I think Arsenal is probably going to be same team, subject obviously to Tomiyasu's fitness. So I'd play Ronaldo. But the real answer there is, my friend, is I'd fucking take a hit to get Ronaldo out, mate. Honestly, if you're sitting there with Ronaldo and not Harry Kane, I would just take the -4 for Harry Kane. You got the fixture swing this week, Harry's fixture. You got Harry double next week. You got Harry covering you in game week 30 now as well. I mean, that can't be a more obvious yes going. Even though it's not a double now, that's blindingly obvious. Just take the -4 Ronaldo to Kane, mate. Nick Jurovic says, running late today. I'm always running late, mate. Berticus says, morning, James. Top drawer stuff this week as always, mate. Cornet and Dean out for Ramsey and James or Rudiger -4. No, I wouldn't be hitting out Luca Dean at this stage, mate. No. Ramsey in, yeah, great, and it's going to facilitate you for stuff to come as well, a bit more money in the bank. Meninda says, for wildcards, not keen on building in for a bench boost next week. Do you think there will be ample opportunity still to bench boost later on, or should we get it out the way in 29? Honestly, I think if I was wildcarding now, I'd be looking to use it next week. It's really, really tricky to set up for, really tricky. It's part of the reason why I've kind of moved away from that idea. I think you're probably booking yourself into a free hit 30 as well. Although that said, if you go treble Arsenal, treble Tottenham, but then do you want to go treble Arsenal, treble Tottenham now when you definitely want some Liverpool assets, you definitely want Chelsea. There are other teams with, Wolves, Villa, Leeds cover you nicely for 30 as well. It's really awkward. But that's what I would have been trying to do, yeah. But to be very honest with you, mate, it's 22 minutes to deadline, and if you don't know what you're doing for 29 in terms of bench boost, yes or no, I would plan not to. And TJ says, hi James, is it a good idea to do -12 to bring in Rafinha for Mahrez, Ramsey for Foden, Cancelo for Rudiger? I'm going to assume that's the other way round. With this, I'm going to bench boost and won't need to free hit on game week 30. Thanks, James. The issue with that always, and I say this almost every deadline stream when we've got doubles knocking about, is the return I would want off a bench boost is 16 points. If I'm taking a -12 to be able to facilitate a bench boost, I would want 28 points. Now, there's certain changes there, like Rudiger for Cancelo. I think that's straightforward in terms of that's first 11, so you can remove that -4. Rafinha, bit more questionable. Ramsey, bit more questionable. So I'd add 8 points to that. Do you think if you take those hits, your bench gets 24 points or more? If so, yes. Otherwise, it's probably a no. Arham says, but in terms of the actual hits, I don't mind it. Arham says, morning, James. Hope you're well. Who to start on a free hit? Cody, Livramento or Shah? Gotsar, goalkeeper, and double Chelsea defence. Cheers, mate. I think because of the brilliant fixtures, Cody. I think. Perlo's Pen, any nice plans this weekend? Yeah, watch a lot of football. No, we're going to go to my mum and dad's today and chill out, which probably includes watching the football, although I may need to watch the Leicester Leeds game back tonight, depending on what time I manage to get out of here and how deeply I need to look at my Sky plan between 11:30 and 12:30. Tomorrow is going to be very chilled, and I needed quite a chilled day because it's been a hectic week, and I got busy week coming up. Monday, I'm going to Tottenham. Clash of Correspondence recording Tuesday night. That's going to be Arsenal-Leicester. Be out for you on Thursday this week. We've got Black Box. Me and Sudra are on Black Box this week with Asri. Looking forward to that Wednesday night. So my evenings are jammed this coming week. So chilled day Sunday will be good for me. We will take Harry out somewhere in the morning or afternoon. If you're new to this, Harry is my 3-year-old son, and he is the best person on this planet. Sam O'Brien says Rodrigo over Jimenez. That's a no, because we don't know the outcome of Rodrigo in terms of if he's even going to start. Could easily be like Gelhardt and Daniel James through the middle. Could be that he still goes with one up front, Jesse Marsh. So it's got to be Jimenez at the moment. Edwin Grand says play King or Dennis. Definitely Dennis, mate, in my opinion, at this moment. I feel like over the last few weeks he's stepped up quite a bit. And I think it's certainly on the eye, he's outshining King for me. And I would always rather refer to that over the statistics. That's just the way I am. Vivek Gore says, which pairing do you prefer on free hit? Rudiger and James, or James and Rudiger? Shifo says, tell me if I've got that right from yesterday pod. Everton will have 3 double game weeks, none of them in 33 or 36. If so, a combo of Edison and Pickford will free hit 33. No, you haven't. There was an error when I read out my predicted schedule for game week 36. I missed out, and I don't know why I didn't say it. Everton Crystal Palace into game week 36 for doubles was part of that predicted schedule. You'll probably see, if you look through my whole timeline, a number of people I said yesterday, you missed out Everton Palace. And when I watched it back last night, I realised that for some reason I didn't say it. I think it's natural when I'm going to go through things in that detail, I'm going to make an error. I said at one stage Brentford had a double in 33. That's impossible. So no, Everton can't double in 33, mate. Can't double in 33. Basically certain to double in game week 36. And also City won't double in 33 unless they lose to Southampton in the Cup and the Brighton fixture is put into 33. And I think in that scenario the Brighton game would more likely be held back for later in the season. So no, Shifo, that's probably not going to work. You're a patron, my friend. Please go back and refer to the planner. You've got it. Have a look at it visually for yourself. Elron Cupboard says -4 for Rudiger, even if it means benching Saka or Alan St. Maximan would most likely captain him. Yeah, there's your probable answer then. You captain him, yeah, go for it. My instinct is St. Maximin doesn't start today, but I think those we've got, you still start him, I think, mate. Ben M says, morning legend, Cancelo to Rudiger and Bowen to Rafinha, or Dalot to Rudiger and Trossard to Rafinha, and bench boost. Cheers and thanks. Both fine, both reasonable. The answer to your question probably there is, what do you want more? Do you want Trossard for the double in 29, or do you want Bowen in 30? It's probably answers your own question there, Ben. Notorious Nerd says, long term, best set and forget Chelsea defender to get. Still Rudiger, in my opinion. Ricky Donahoe says, start Son or Stuart Armstrong. Like that, good question. Son, but close. We really like Stuart Armstrong, actually. Really like him. He's also a bit injury prone, though. I'd start Sonny, mate. I think there's certain single game week players right now. Kane, Son, Cancelo, Trent, Salah. Those 5. I'd be extremely uncomfortable with benching them. Matt Bryant says, morning James, thanks for all the fixture predictions this week, really helpful. Do you think St. Maximin is worth the risk for a 2-week punt, even if bench today would be for Weghorst and a hit? I'm going to say no, Matt. Interestingly, looking at my plan now, Matt, I might leave Weghorst in my squad and bench him pretty much every week. He's actually part of my potential strategy at the moment, and that's based on a possible Burnley-Everton fixture in game week 32. Which I discussed yesterday on the podcast. The one thing about the strategy that I outlined in terms of future projections, I might be completely wrong, and by the way, I'm following those projections, so if it's wrong, it's going to fuck me as well. Edge of Frame, hiya mate, do I play Ramsdale or Foster this week? Thanks for the content. Always, in my opinion, goalkeeper with a double, irrespective of the fixtures. NJ says, hey James, could you have a guess at how many doubles on average top 100k team would have this game week? 8. But actually no, because there's going to be quite a few bench boosts this week, so could be more. 9.5 maybe. Sam Taylor says, morning James, I'm on bench boost this week. Should I use my free transfer to take out Semedo for Kilman, or take out Semedo, Tierney and Sarr for Kilman, Rudiger and Dubravka for -8, not free hitting in game week 30? I mean, I can't argue with the -8, but Sam, I don't know what players you're selling there for Rudiger, Dubravka, so it's difficult for me to say yes, but generally on principle, I'm okay with it. FPL Dougal, morning Jimbo. Would you rather take no hits, captain Rafinha, and play Robertson, or take a hit to bring in Thiago Silva, captain him, and bench Robertson? Again, little bit subject to plan in terms of Thiago Silva going forward for 29-30. What does that mean for you? My instinct is Rafinha as captain is fine this week. It's fine. I mean, to be honest, in fairness, Thiago Silva probably should be on those top captaincy picks. In fairness, if I had him, and he was the Chelsea player I would captain him over the majority of them. Actually, he probably should be on there. I just considered that most people would prioritise Rudiger or James, but I guess it's probably down to affordability for you, mate. Difficult. I'd arguably chance Rafinha, mate. Boy from Somalia has put Che Adams captain. Fine, if that's what you fancy. We're about 14 minutes to deadline as far as I can see, guys. So obviously make sure begin to get those teams locked in. Cameron Frederick says, good morning. Who is the best midfielder for the bench boost? Bowen, Ward-Prowse or Saka? Ward-Prowse with a double, isn't it? We already have Rafinha, Ramsey, Son, so it's got to be Ward-Prowse. Adam says, would you start Tierney or Cathcart with a double? I mean, there's a big difference between starting Foster and starting Cathcart. Honestly, I'd probably start Tierney. From that would be my instinct. Just having a little check, see if there's any interesting messages floating about. Looks like a no, guys. I mean, I guess from a Leeds perspective, most of us are only worried about Rafinha anyway. I can see no reason why he wouldn't start in that 12:30 kickoff. Notorious Nerd says, is there too much uncertainty over minutes and points sharing in the Chelsea attack, or is there someone who stands out? By the way, it's not a guarantee that even Rudiger's going to play twice, right? You got to consider Thursday Norwich, Newcastle Sunday, Lille Wednesday. Who knows what Tuchel wants to do? Maybe Rudiger will get a break. I think in terms of the attacking assets, though, yeah, it's difficult to say. Mount, for me, is always the one I think is kind of X minutes, I would say. Chris Amerson says, Ramsey or Gordon? Well, depends, mate. You bench boosting this week, you bench boosting next week. That's going to affect the decision, isn't it? Personally prefer Ramsey as an option. I've seen a number of people saying Gordon nailed. I think once Calvert-Lewin's up to speed and Damari Gray's back, I'm not convinced about that, actually. That said, I'm not convinced in the slightly longer term, and I mean beyond game week 30 for this, that Ramsey is nailed as well, because when Marvellous Nakamba comes back to fitness, and he's expected back in April, that could have an impact. And obviously you've got the shadow of Buendia floating, where I think in certain fixtures, Gerrard may even go to a double pivot and get Coutinho, Buendia, Ings and Watkins all in the team. Who knows? If Leeds play 4-2-2-2 today, he might even decide to do that against them on Thursday, which would probably mean dropping Ramsey. But I think Ramsey to start both at the moment is 90% plus at the moment, to be honest. Listen, we can worry about this with everybody. The only ones with doubles is like the keepers, isn't it? You feel safe. Even Mendy, and I mean this seriously, could Kepa start at Norwich? Could he just go, oh, fuck it, I'll play Kepa again? He might do. Patrick Lawson says, hi James, is Dyer nailed? Yes, mate. If he's available and he's fit, he will play. Lewis James, and that goes for Romero and Davis as well at the moment. They're definitely the first choice back three. Although Conte is going through mood swings at the moment, and he is getting into a stage where he's starting to throw certain shit at the wall. I don't think the throwing certain shit at the wall at the moment includes putting Sanchez into centre-back, for example. Also, if he decides to change the system, he seems obsessed if he plays a back four that Ben Davis plays left-back. So it'd still be the same three would play. So, yeah, but please don't buy a Tottenham player on nailed-ness. I would look elsewhere, generally. Lewis James says, haven't been able to drop in for a while. Hope you're doing well. Very well, thank you, Lewis. Hope you are too, mate. Alfredo Demetrius, Melo, Kit, Reed 2, Azun, Live, Kittic, Alo, Nah. James, captain, good choice. I presume that's the same thing in both choice. Does that mean my name's Azun in a certain language? I mean, I've been called worse things, mate. If you've got Reece James, you haven't got Rudiger. If that's what I had, I'd go for it. Sezdia says, hi, James. With everyone looking at Adams, Breuer and Jimenez, can Hwang be the one we overlooking? To be honest with you, I've got zero interest in Wolves attackers. Like, honestly, I would rather go Fraser or Willock than Hwang, personally. Does he even start? What if they scored like 24 goals or something? I get it, it's the fixtures, but they've had them fixtures before and not wildly done great, the offensive players. So I'm not keen. And actually with Hwang, we had this whole discussion back in the autumn, and I kept saying I'm not keen on Hwang, not keen on Hwang, when he was very popular at the time. He's less popular now, and I'm still not keen. I don't mind him as a player, by the way. I think he's decent. It's no fault from an FPL perspective, personally. It'll go mental now, I've said that this week. Lalutri says Saka, Ramsdale, Lacazette, TAA, worth bench boost. Yeah, I think that's pretty decent, mate, to be honest. I'm absolutely okay with that. Philip Sutzer says, we've got about 9 minutes to deadline, guys. Philip Sutzer, hi James, thanks for the great content. Is it crazy to bench TAA? All other defenders are double game week. 2 times Chelsea, Wolves. Yep. I'd bench one of your attacking players, mate. Jammy Jim says, hi James, best long-term midfielder. If I was free hitting this week, I'd arguably have a back five. Jammy Jim says, hi James, best long-term midfielder for approx 8 million. If my likely plan is free hit 30, free hit 33 and wildcard 35, I think your transfers this week might answer my question, but is it Mount also a good option? Yeah, Mason Mount's absolutely reasonable. You've got a double now, 29, good fixtures 31 to 32. 33 is an unknown. Chelsea will definitely double in 33 if they lose to Middlesbrough, but we have to say the probability of that is no at the moment, despite Middlesbrough's results against United and Tottenham. So yeah, I think Mason Mount is reasonable. My decision on Fraser is part about I need the money a little bit, so just consider that. Nicola Torco says, hi James, good luck this game week. Would you play Foden over Saka? Thanks and all the best to you. Yes, I probably would. Ricky Saunders, morning pal. Gimme a ginger from Sweden. He's our number 21. He's Kuleszewski. FPL Samurai says, I've got Alan St. Maximin in my 11, but with his injury cloud, I'm thinking of taking a -4 to bring in Mount for Bowen. Start over St. Maximin. Do you think this is worth a punt? Certainly a punt. And I mean, the side of that on the punt is obviously not starting St. Maximin, which I think you should still do, generally. So I'm gonna say no. Yeah. I'm gonna say no, particularly if you're not free hitting 30. No. Concept says, hi James, bench TAA Saka for Son. Saka. Well, should I just bench boost? Was hoping to hold out until game week 36. Still have my wildcard. I can't answer that, mate, because I don't know what the rest of your bench looks like. Ashish says, morning James, play Fraser, Ramsey or Kane. Play Harry, mate. Perry Hart, like the video, peeps. Much appreciated, Perry. Yeah, if you're joining, I see them likes have gone massive up. Big thanks, guys. Doesn't cost anything to press the button. This is a free video. Adam says, Coutinho not in top 10. No. Honestly, I know. To be honest, I think Thiago Silva said should probably be in there as well, in fairness. So, no. Decent option. Lee said on Clash of Correspondents, our Villa correspondent, and I actually cut it into the intro for the audio of the podcast. That was what was the intro, was me saying, what would you say to Coutinho captainers this week? And he said, oh, well, I wouldn't put people off. And I said, well, you ain't exactly putting people on either, are you? So, I mean, he wasn't even convinced that much either. So, no for me from the captain. I mean, look, if you fancy Adam, it's cool. Like, I think there's an openness to captaincy this week, which is quite nice. So, I mean, Rafinha, even the Southampton forwards, I think it's fine. Wolves, even like Jose Sarr, it's fine. So, if you want to go Coutinho, mate, I'm all right with it. I'm not going to say no. Austin Lady says, should I have Cancelo or James on my wild card, looking to bench boost in 29? I think, like, your wild card now, you go to Chelsea player at this minute, I think. Gary Shepherd says, Luton again today, Ricky. That's in response to Ricky Saunders turning up at our Patreon meetup last week and managing to end up in Luton rather than Milton Keynes on the way home. Birth Media says, Thiago Silva captaincy. It's okay, mate. Ragaf says, should I bring in second Chelsea defender for Cancelo for -8 or play Cancelo? Well, I've just stuck with Cancelo, so I think there's your answer. Dylan Farrell says, heading to Roma versus Atalanta later. Nice, mate. Got any message for Jose if I bump into him? I'll be asking how much the backhander was for Doherty. Yeah, I got a message for Jose, mate. Ask him if he'll buy Doherty again. Josh says, bench Trent or Dean. It's for my bench boost. I just don't want to be a bench boost wanker. In that case, bench Trent. Alex Richards says, Cancelo. I think, look, Luca Dean's a different one. A real high upside, right? So, yeah, I mean, I'd pick Dean over Trent. Alex Richards says Cancelo to Reece James, Rudiger for -4. Cancelo to Reece James, Rudiger for -4. If you've got none of them, I'm going to say yes, mate. Dana J says, hello James, I currently have 4 Game Week 30 players and get 8-9 with -4 or -8 in a couple of weeks, but will not be able to get any Chelsea, only 1 free hit left, thanks. Make your decision, right? It's based on your whole team. And I kind of went through my process yesterday and again earlier in the stream in terms of, I think the gain for me is to use it in that game week. So look, I kind of laid out yesterday the probability for game week 33, and I think when we looked at it, we've all agreed generally, if that happens, it's going to be better than what people were originally expecting. It could be wildly wrong. Let me tell you about game week 33 in all seriousness right now. On my projection, I've got 6 teams doubling. Now, a few of them are really bad, like Brighton, you wouldn't even think about. You might as well rule it out and say 5. There could be as little as 2 teams with a double win game week 33. There could be as many as 9. And that's part why I want a free hit for that then. But it could end up being a waste not using it. So Dan J, it really does depend in terms of what the rest of your team is and your plan. Chelsea assets this week are not essential in my opinion. Mark Burns says, morning James, no question, great pod yesterday, thank you mate. About 2 minutes to deadline guys, get yourselves locked in. Chris says, Sarr or Ramsdale on wildcard. For myself, it would be Ramsdale because I'd play Foster this week. Colm Bugler says, hi James. Oh no, I'm so sorry Colm, I lost my place. Shit, let's try and find you. Especially because I already said your name out. God, there's a lot of questions I'm not going to get to. Apologies in advance, kids. Colm, where are you, mate? Where are you? Oh no, I'm going to have lost you, mate, I think. Oh, that's a terrible... Colm, I'm going to say do it. I don't know why the questions have just appeared off, but I can't get back to the top of the chat. There's probably too many questions in there. I don't know how to make that work. Oh, shit. Sorry, guys. There's a few of you. There's so many questions in the chat that it won't let me go back to the top of the chat. Oh, shit. Sorry, Carl. Good luck, though, mate. Lewis Coles. Hi, James. Bench 1 of Livramento, Saka, Luis Diaz. Cheers. Diaz. Tim Kressner, Cancelo over Ramsey. Interesting, yeah. Sash JM, Captain Cody. It's weird, but I don't hate it. I don't like it either, though. Mikel Paulson, and should I start Trent or Dennis? I'd start Trent, mate. Patrick Lawson on wildcard bench boost next week. Would you rather have Lacazette and Kulusevski or Richarlison and Saka next week? Former gives extra coverage for blank game week 30, but not sure if Laka plays 3 in a row. I personally would rather have the Richarlison option. But it's another one I'm not overly in love with either, guys. Right, seconds to deadline as far as I make it. Literally about 55 seconds or so. Get yourselves locked in. James goes and rechecks his own team. Make sure it's okay. Yeah, looks good. Till I get hacked in the next 20 seconds. FPL Glasgow, note to self, don't listen to James Chippod after you think you've locked 28 wildcard. Well, 28 wildcard is still okay. I only made 2 changes that will give me 9 in game week 30. Cheers for your knowledge as ever, James. Smashed it. Thank you. Vil says, would you start Gunn over Ramsdale? Yes, I would, but I think that Krul plays anyway. But there's a chance... Gunn could play this game against Brentford, not play Chelsea, or he might not play at all, or he might play the double. So actually, it's a great question. I would probably go Gunn. I'd probably go Gunn. What did Gunn get against City? Was it 6 points or so? I'd go Gunn. Garav says, who you reckon scores more this week, Alonso or Jimenez? Close. I'm going to say Jimenez just. That's on X minutes for Alonso in that I don't think he starts both. Hugo Fouad says, I did play just 1 free hit. When can I get my second free hit? Any idea? You can get it whenever you want, mate. You just can't play free hit 2 weeks in a row. Excuse me. Shafiq says, hi James. Pretty happy with my team. Both Liverpool defence, Livra, Cash, Rega on bench. Is it a must have in Chelsea and Wolves players? No. Mo says, hi James, start 2 of Ramsey, Livramento, Target, Dennis, grim. Dennis and target. Difficult one, that though. Really difficult, really close. Okay, guys, deadline is gone. Thanks for your questions. Sorry for those I missed out in the middle. Apologies. But hopefully the questions that I did cover have certainly helped you with your own decisions. I don't think there's too much I feel like we didn't get covered. The amount of people in here, guys, I work on a priority system at the moment. I'm never going to get through them all, but thank you all for your contributions in any case. If anybody's got any non-FPL questions, happy to get them covered over the next 15-20 minutes or so. Please drop the FPL questions from here, because my head has taken a battering over the last 48 hours or so. But I must again thank everybody for the likes, the retweets, the shares. It's certainly yesterday's podcast was by miles the most interactive we've had with, certainly in terms of Twitter and stuff. So we're extremely grateful for the love we've had on that pod from yesterday. If you want to listen back to it, it's still relevant, because we don't speak about Gameweek 28 that much other than sort of the first 10 minutes or so. Content this week, before I do non-FPL questions. We'll be back Monday, made podcast, and we'll probably do it again on Friday as well to cover the 4 Thursday games, and then last minute thinking into 29. Tuesday will be People's Poll podcast. I still can't believe people didn't vote for Abramovich last week, but we did enjoy doing the Bielsa podcast, so Abramovich may go back into the topic again. Or we may just go, we're doing it. Wednesday, Sky Fantasy. Thursday's Clash of Correspondents, as said, will be Arsenal versus Leicester with 3-5 Who and Aaron Lagor. Obviously, Arsenal have to double 29 and play 30. And obviously, Leicester play 30 as well. I can also reveal to you that your Clash of Correspondents prior to Game Week 30 will be Wolves versus Leeds with Bradley Parker and Andy Martin. Patreon content next week will include from Intermediate Tier, our podcast, Q&A Monday, Tuesday, probably going to be UCL Fantasy again, actually. Wednesday will be Tottenham. Neither of us are playing this midweek, are we? No. Thursday will be quiz. Friday will be our Game Week 29 preview show. An advanced tier. There's obviously additional video content each weekday next week as well for the advanced tiers. I haven't had 2 seconds to give thought to what that's going to look like as yet, but it won't be too dissimilar in setup to the norm. But I'll look at a few things for you, like Free Hit 29, for example. That's for definite. And obviously, if you just want to join us at basic tier, support the content, £3 a month, that gives you access to the planner. I mean, seriously, would you reckon that podcast was worth yesterday? I had one DM yesterday, and I'd like to read it out, actually. I might even read it out on Monday's podcast. I won't name who it was, but the DM I had last night was, just joined your Patreon. Really hate paying for stuff, mainly because I'm a tight git, but also because I'm already in lots of FPL groups, so don't really need any help. However, that fixture pod was awesome, and it embarrassed me getting it for free. Come and support the content. I don't promise to make anybody a better FPL manager. My job is to put the information there and for people to generally make their own choices. This deadline stream is a rare case where I go, yeah, bang, 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 this is what I would do. But if you want to support our content, we'd love to have you on Patreon. It is the start of the month, so it's the best value time to do it. www.patreon.com/planetfpl. You have the visual access to my planner from basic tier, which is posted on our Slack community channel. And if you're sick of Twitter, let me promise you that our community on Slack is a much better place to be. Right. That's enough of the selling bit, which I never enjoy doing anyway. If you just came for the FPL, thanks for dropping in. Smash a like and a sub on the way out. Deadline stream next week will be same time next week, obviously, for everybody as well. All right, let's do some non-FPL stuff. Let's see what we... Oh, God, loads again. Bless. Static says non-FPL... Oh, sorry. Nils Appel's favourite 90s movie. Favourite 90s movie. I want to tell you the first one that came into my head. No lie. I had it in my head. Anyone guess that? Any guesses? Gremlins. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say Usual Suspects. Static says non-FPL question. What's the best chocolate? Right now it would be any, because I'm trying to do a little bit of a diet. An extreme one that I don't recommend for anybody, by the way. Best chocolate. What would I choose? Do you know what I said to Suj? We had this conversation before. I told Suj I really like Whispers. And he said, oh, it's just fused shit. And I said, yeah, that's why I like it. I will say Galaxy Caramel is the one that... Give me one of them big fuckers. I don't think I'd put it down. Dylan Ferner Rose says, top 10 managers in the world at the moment. Mark Southerns, Fabio Borges, Magnus Carlsen. Top 10 managers in the world at the moment. Guardiola, Klopp, Tuchel. I think Conte has every right to be in there. Poch is borderline, to be honest. I'd arguably put Eric Ten Hag in there. I must profess to not being an expert on European football, by the way. Are there any others from the Prem that we'd put in there? I think Conte does have the right to be in there, to be honest. My knowledge of European football is just way too shit at the moment. Nagelsmann, I suppose, has got to be in there. Hansi Flick. Probably a few international managers that are passing by over my head at the moment. There's a few names for you. I'm not the best person to ask in terms of things like that, European football, because unfortunately I just don't watch enough of it. Svensson Stan says, by the way, I think Jesse Marsch is an outstanding appointment for Leeds. And I know a lot of people don't want it and they didn't want Bielsa to go, and as covered on Tuesday, completely understand that. I genuinely think he's an outstanding appointment. Svensson Stan says Pep and Klopp are likely to leave City and Liverpool. That doesn't mean he'll kick them up, though. Pep and Klopp are likely to leave City and Liverpool in 23 and 24 respectively. Where would you like to see them manage next? I wouldn't be certain that they will, despite contract situations. I think Guardiola's hinted very recently that he'll probably stay on, actually. Klopp will be, I think, how he feels in probably a year's time in terms of the intensity of the Liverpool job's quite big and stuff. Where would I like to... Tottenham? Where would I like to see him go at Tottenham? I'll have either of them, mate. Either of them. Will Bill says, best and worst player you've seen live. I mean, best and worst player I've seen live. Best by country miles is Lionel Messi, who I genuinely was a privilege to watch him destroy my Tottenham at Wembley a couple of years ago in the Champions League. And it was, honestly, I walked out the ground and it was like, we didn't play that badly. They were just much better than us. It was a privilege to watch him. For me, I genuinely believe, if you ask me 20, 30 years, in my opinion, will still be classed as the best player in the world, to my opinion. Worst. Genuine worst player, like how did he kick a ball kind of thing. That's really difficult, right? Because I've seen Tottenham play non-league teams and I can't remember players' names. So that's really, really difficult to quantify. I can't really answer that. Because whatever answer I give is incorrect. Ian Parent says, great pod yesterday, James. Really useful content. Ian, if you missed it, is obviously Plan It IT Sky. Is one of the names I shouted out at the end of that pod yesterday. He's a must follow on Twitter. And I don't do essentials much, but Ian is an essential follow as far as I'm concerned. Sky question. Son, 4 games before international break, or Chelsea player 2. Neither would be a captaincy. Getting itchy fingers over getting these transfers made. I said on Wednesday's Sky Poddy, and I thought getting Son and Kane together would be an amazing differential. Like, I probably can't make that happen. It just doesn't really work for me in terms of the players that I'd be selling and the timing and stuff. But I think Son, if you've got the choice, I think Sonny, mate, I I would potentially chance that. It also gives you a little bit of coverage should obviously something happen to Kane, in terms of you're there and you're ready, rather than if something happened to Kane, you would be buying Son. So I think, look, Ian, the way our minds work, right? The 4 games over 2, I think we chance it, don't we? The other thing with the 2 times Chelsea is, do they play the games? I mean, it depends what you're bringing in, obviously. But it's no guarantee they even play the 2 games, is there? So I think Sonny, mate. Ren says, oh God, I don't know who my captain is. Could be Rafinha, JWP or Reece James. Well, wish you luck, mate. Matt S says, how would you rank Shearer, Rooney, Aguero in Premier League? The way you've written it. Which isn't to understate Aguero's achievements or anything. I just think if you're saying greatest Premier League forwards, then I think that's the order I would rank them. Gareth Payton says, who will finish top 4? West Ham, Wolves, City, Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal. Immortal Techniques says, hi James, what is your favourite beer? I mean, the Champman streamers will know I don't mind a Brewdog, but I realised that there's a few ethical issues with Brewdog at the moment that I'm seeing that makes me not want to say them. But in terms of an actual beer, I do like a Brewdog. The beer I've been having a little bit recently is an Amstel, but I got to be honest, I just generally don't drink that much anymore. When I've been going out for Spurs recently, I've been drinking a beer called Brixton, actually, in the pub I've been going to, which I hadn't heard of previously. But yeah, quite nice that. Ray Koreshi says, nice one, James. Who do you think has performed better this season as a whole, Messi or Ronaldo, and why? Messi, because he's not Ronaldo. Tim Crestner says, James, looking very svelte, lost weight. I told you I'm doing a bit of an extreme diet and it works hard and fast. So a little bit of the neck fat might have gone a little bit quite quickly. Don't worry, I'll put it back on. I certainly have not suddenly become slim or anything, but yeah. I'm doing Atkins at the moment, which fucks your mind. It also fucks your mind more if you're not busy, and I have been really busy this week. So in a weird way, yes, I did all this strategy shit while having my head spinning because I've got no sugar or carbs in my body. I do not recommend it to anybody. It's fairly brutal. But I generally lose weight very fast by doing it. It's amazing how quickly it works. But I won't do it for long. I just do stage 1 for like 2 weeks and then come off, just to lose a bit of weight quickly. I need to get myself in better shape for 39, and my son's getting a bit faster when he runs. I want to be able to chase after him. So yeah, that's why I don't recommend it to anybody. Like, don't. Oh, I want to lose weight. Please don't do Atkins. It fucking kills you. Niels Appel says, but I mean, I can't see it. I can feel it a little bit, Tim. Niels Appel says, no worries, Ren's deadline already passed anyway. Hamish Shalom, Sky question, would you prioritise getting Gabriel? Part depends on what you're selling. What have you got any Villa coverage, for example? Is quite important maybe to relate to that. But I think, yes, my original strategy was to get him in for Webster tomorrow. Obviously, you had the heads up that there was a Webster issue, so I bought him for the Wolves game. So he's already sitting there for me in my Sky team, Gabriel. So it's not a decision for me. But I think for the majority... Fuck, excuse me. Told you to kill you, that Atkins. For the majority of people, yes, I would get Gabriel. Glenn Murray, keep Laporte or move him to Rudiger in Sky on Thursday. If you'd have asked me 2 days ago, I'd have said, yeah, definitely. But the Diaz injury is interesting, isn't it? Because you're definitely getting the Laporte games, I think. The majority of them. So that's a little bit more difficult now. I think it's probably a yes, though, Glenn. We will certainly talk about this sort of option on Wednesday's podcast. Elvin James says, where do you believe Spurs will end? Give me hope. Are you pleased with Conte? Is it like you believed when he arrived? I think Conte has just found it like what I've been keep telling people for a couple of years. The players are not good enough. It's the one excuse I always gave Mourinho was, I do accept the players were shit, but look at the players he bought. Fuck me. He made the squad worse. I Honestly, you look at Mourinho's signings and what he actually spent, and you're like, nah, did he? Yeah. I mean, it's like Brendan Rodgers stuff. I think Antonio Conte has definitely improved us. I think some of the stuff recently has been... I mean, I blasted him on Tottenham on Wednesday after the Middlesbrough game because he left them out to dry. I mean, he seriously risked Son getting injured at Middlesbrough. Sonny was so shattered, and I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago about a fitness issue with him, which the fitness issue is now not an issue, but literally, I was watching Sonny at Middlesbrough Tuesday, and I was thinking, he is getting injured any second here. He had to come off the pitch. He was broken, and he left him out there. And I didn't appreciate that. He also didn't appreciate that he took two young kids there who were good, promising young midfielders in Harvey White and Alfie Devine, and he refused to use either of them, despite Højbjerg and Harry Winks being a fucking disaster. Bentancur being back on Monday is a big promise. But the thing that I could never see with Mourinho, a tactical idea or structure, what he was trying to do, I can definitely see that Antonio Conte is coaching this Tottenham team and trying to implement his methods. And we see things like the Man City game and you go, well, that works, doesn't it? So, yeah, I like Antonio. I think he needs to shut his mouth a bit more. I also think that actually he sulked at Middlesbrough, and I actually think he was sulking at Leeds last week because we won 4-0. No one said anything about it, but he wasn't animated on the touchline for the Leeds game. He wasn't animated. I mean, in the Middlesbrough game, every time the camera panned to him, like he was just kind of walking around silently and stuff. That's not the Antonio Conte I know, to be very honest. I think after his outburst after the Burnley game, he got told to shut up, and I think because he's way too emotionally involved, he decided, well, I'm going to sulk about it. Then he's like a scorned person sometimes who's just broke up in a relationship. He really does flip flop. But I think the emotional stuff that comes with him is worth it because he's world class at what he does. If Antonio Conte gets Tottenham to 4th, which I still think actually is possible, it's a miracle. An absolute miracle with those players. Because as I told you several times, you take Kane and Son out of that team, at the moment, I don't even think that's top half team. They are obviously the X factor. As Adam Pritchard always says, they're clutch players. They can win Tottenham at any game, at any time. But the rest of the team, it's miles off. Conte realised if he wants to stay with Tottenham or he's going to stay with Tottenham, this ain't an overnight fix. I genuinely think Conte took the job and thought, I can get Tottenham to challenge for the league next season. That ain't happening. That ain't happening unless there is a huge overhaul of the squad. And when I mean huge overhaul of the squad, I mean like 10 new players in and 10 players or so leaving. Now, the players can't come in unless you get rid of the shit. The priority is keep saying, get the shit out. Get rid of the shit. You don't get rid of the shit, you can't register these new players anyway, so it's a waste of time. Get them off the wage books, cut your losses, go with a couple of kids or so. Got a kid right back in the squad. I don't even know if he's only got Maxim Pescozzi. Can he be worse than Emerson or Doherty? If Emerson or Doherty are not part of the longer term plan, once top 4's gone, I'd like to see Pescozzi play. I'd like to see Alfie Devine play the end of the season once top 4 becomes impossible and stuff. So, but I realise Conte's not the sort of manager to do that, and I'm not saying these players should play now. Top 4 is going to be tough because it's not the quality, but the front 3 can do damage. And I really like what I've seen of Kulusevski so far. Rowan S says favourite non-Spurs Premier League kit, also favourite non-England international kit. I think Brazil is just so iconic. Like Brazil 82 and stuff. Non-Spurs Premier League kit, I mean, that's really difficult to call. I'm going to say someone who was about for like only one season or so. Let's say Bradford because it's weird colours. Matt S says, what teams do you suspect will have new managers next season in Premier League? Alright. Let's give you a quick rundown and a quick look at them. Who might change? Not many. I think Leicester might change. United will change. I think Southampton might change because someone might come and take Hassan Hootel. Sorry, Saints fans. Watford will obviously change. And that's it. But something will change. I mean, Conte could walk out of Tottenham any day. I'm not stupid, but Oh, he could definitely walk out in the summer. But I'm actually of the opinion, I know a few people at The Athletic have said there's an expectation that Conte might walk out in the summer. But actually, if that's what he's going to do, I don't know why he would just walk out now that we're out the FA Cup. I would just walk now. Right, where have we gone? Sorry, Matt S. What teams do you suspect will have a new manager next season? Just done. TJ Powell, best away ground for food. King Power, mate. Yeah, I said this a number of times. That sausage roll at Leicester City. I had to go back for a second one, mate. Wasn't on Atkins then, I can tell you. Addy Tor says, with no Webster, is it worth removing Dunk in Sky today for Rudiger, or just wait until 30 to make the transfer? Definitely wait. Definitely wait. Have a look at how many passes Lewis Dunk recorded against Villa last week. It was over 100. So, and Newcastle was not likely to be that different. So you're starting with 5 points with Dunk. You stick, mate. Actually, I think Dunk is more likely for passing today than Rudiger, and you might find that's bizarre. But a lot of teams actually, for Sky, actually struggle to hit passing tiers against Burnley. It's really interesting. It's a really weird quirk. So no, I would not make that transfer today. Mark, and that's not to say Rudiger won't hit passing tier today, by the way. He probably will, but it's not a guarantee. Mark Erskine says, thoughts on Stavley saying it wasn't fair to lose your football club on alleged links with Kremlin. Sounded like self-interest, and I'm a Newcastle fan. Had nothing to add on that, Mark. You've summed it up pretty well, mate. I completely agree. Richard Saunders Irving says, are you a watchman, James? If so, what's your fancy? No. Never been a watch wearer, mate. Me and Bling don't really get on. I only wear a ring because apparently I have to on my finger. I have to let people know that I'm married. Razik says, is your son named after Kane? No, but ask me again in a couple of years and the answer might be yes. Mohammed Parvez says, oh James, I have my wild card. Mate, please listen to yesterday's podcast in terms of your chip strategy. Thanks for the question. I'm not doing any FPL now, mate, but please go back and listen to yesterday's podcast. That's where the answer is at. It's on YouTube. Chip Talk, you'll find it. Go and listen back to that, honestly, my friend. Far more benefit to you. Jonathan says, hi James, with Klopp leaving Liverpool possibly in 2 years, who do you think would be a good replacement? Poch. I mean, that will be so difficult to replace. It depends, right? Do they want to go with something stylistically similar, which I suspect might be the right idea? To be honest with you, I heard a lot of people, I forget, what's the assistant's name? Is it Kuipers or something? I forget his name, forgive me. I think they might even be building for him to take over, actually, in terms of a succession plan. Joe Finney about a worst airport going from Stansted on Monday, and I fucking hate that place. Yeah, pretty shit. Luton's not great either. I was thinking of overseas ones, actually. I can't even remember what Prague looked like. I was so fucking drunk. I'm surprised they let me back on the plane. It was a long time ago. Yeah. Stansted's grim as soon as you walk in there. I'm not going to lie. Mind you, once you go through, I don't mind it, actually. No, I'm going to say Luton, actually. Alvaro says, Ancelotti, Simeone, Lopetegui. Yeah, great shouts. Such says whispers me so chocolate. Yeah, exactly. I told you that's why I like it. Peter Carroll says, non-FPL, is your Spurs man ranking preference and impact? Teddy, Robbie, Keane, Klinsmann. Interestingly, I mean, preference, Klinsmann, Teddy, Robbie. Impact, arguably the same, because Klinsmann, it was just unbelievably iconic when Tottenham bought Klinsmann, and it was huge what it did for the football club at the time, what it did for the fan base who'd been through a difficult period where the club was really on edge financially, going back a few years earlier. It nearly got relegated the season, like genuinely, when he stayed up with 2 games to go because we won at Oldham on a mud heap in May on a Thursday night. We would have been in big trouble if we'd lost that night. So, I mean, at the time, in terms of the impact that did, and just in terms of the positivity of the club, remember we was meant to start that season on -12 as well. I mean, just literally the sign of him. And he was such a lovable player and character, Jurgen. He didn't have a weakness. He didn't have a weakness. Robbie Keane, for example, was abysmal in the air. Abysmal. It could be too greedy sometimes, but then that was also part of what made Robbie great. Teddy had zero pace. It was all in his head. Klinsmann, as a forward, he just didn't have a weakness. I think he's probably arguably one of the best all-round forwards I've ever seen. In terms of just like you'd say, what's Klinsmann's weakness? Like, I don't know. Right foot, left foot, incredible in the air, good pace, good hold-up play. Like literally, he didn't have a bad attribute. Phenomenal, and for that one season, we got to see him at his incredible best for a season. The other two were great, I guess. There's arguably more affinity to them because they were around longer, and I mean, particularly in Robbie's case, he carried Tottenham for a few seasons, particularly even his first season. Actually, I think without him, we would have been close to relegation. So love for all three of them. Which, as Klinsmann didn't have a weakness, but he also, worth saying, he wasn't like lightning quick. He wasn't the best finisher I've ever seen, but he was just extremely good at all aspects. Lamici says Sky moves this week. I haven't got a clue, mate. I'm not bullshitting anyone. Honestly, if I make a move today, I'll put it in the Slack channel before deadline. I don't think I will. I need to look now. Ragef says Hassan Hootle a top 10 for sure. No, not yet, mate. Simon Smith, will you watch Cheltenham race week starting 15th March? No. Mark Erskine says Eddie Howe not in your top 10. Eddie Howe. No, it's not to say one day he might not be, and the same applies for Ralph Hassan Hootle. Get your words out, but not at the moment. Nick Goodall, let's chat Shane Warne. I feel almost inappropriate talking about it because I'm not a big cricket fan, but from the little I know, from my perspective, most probably famous cricket player of all time. Please don't put in the chat if you think someone different. I'm not bothered. Incredibly sad for him to obviously pass at such a young age. I know basically he was the whole of Australia's news yesterday, night and day, because he's such obviously an icon to that country. Arguably one of the most famous people to ever come out of that country despite being a cricketer. Phenomenal. Sad loss to the game. Not seen anybody say a bad word about him, certainly from a cricketing perspective. No, I never heard anybody say, "Oh, Shane Warne was overrated" or anything. Like, phenomenal. But as not someone, I recall, I watched quite a bit of the Ashes in 2005, and I remember the one delivery everyone talks about, wasn't it, where it was going to the left side, and the batsman, it almost looks like it's going out for wide, and then it spins and hits the far stump on the right. It's just like, how phenomenal. But I'm not best placed to give you any insight on the cricket side of things, but certainly a loss to sport massively. Mark Erskine says Jesse Marsh interview was very impressive. Yeah, I've said that, Mark. Really good, very impressed. Will Bill says who do you see being the first English manager to win the Premier League? Well, the most likely right now is Eddie Howe, isn't it? As it stands. It's difficult to foresee an Englishman at the moment getting one of them big jobs. Don't see it. So, I mean, honestly, the most likely answer is Eddie Howe. And by the way, I would not be surprised if it ends up being someone who is obviously currently not a manager, and it ends up being someone in 20, 30 years or so. Wouldn't be surprised. Jawala Rice is bench boosted with Ramsdale, Trent, Son, Saka. Great. Tech Zero, feel bad for Leicester. They've had literally all their first choice centre back line injured for most of the season. I swear their defence wasn't that bad last season with everyone fit. Well, here's the thing that you're wrong about. They didn't have everyone fit last year. But no, the situation, again, this is a video I covered for the Advanced Tier page a few weeks ago. Their defensive issues have got worse this season. That is true. James Lovegrove, hello mate. Think we need a challenge for you and Suj on bench boost. Thinking who can sneak in the most wrestling finisher names during the pod. I mean, it would be me by absolute miles, mate. Absolute miles. It would be me, mate. I'd tombstone that fucker all over the place, mate. In fact, it would be so bad for him. I would send him mentally to the rock bottom of his life, mate. Honestly, it would be like a stone cold stunner to his heart, mate. Honestly, it would be like giving him an elbow drop off the top rope, mate. Bit of a sharpshooter, mate. Alvaro Prada. I'd find that easier than a super kick, I think. Alvaro Prada, hop house beer you like. I whatever's in front of me, I'm generally not too fussed with, mate. I'm not hugely a favour of it. I see just while we're talking beer, Forever QPR FPL IPA or stout. Stout for me, mate. James Love goes like Shearer at the wild card. I can't remember what that's in reference to, but thank you, mate. Thomas says, interested why you don't think Coutinho's top 10 captain. I've gone for Rafinha and do agree something's not right with Villa. Discussed it a little bit earlier, mate. I'm not doing FPL now, but thanks for your question, Thomas. Flock says, what are the ethical issues with Brewdog? There was some stuff, and I don't know the full details, but it was something about working conditions for staff weren't great. I think that's easy enough to find on Google or something. Nick Goodall says FPL done. Thoughts on Shane Warne, I've just covered. Yogish says, hey James, what's your overall rank? Tweeted it earlier. 83 or 87. So just WhatsApped me as well and said Whisper is like recycled chocolate. What's my rank? It's 80 something. I did tweet it earlier. I can't remember. I don't even know the password for my phone. It's obviously an issue. My rank, to tell you exactly, is, fuck's sake, James, right pissing about here. 87,263, and I'm going to get a red arrow this week as well, and I'm going to get a red arrow in Gameweek 29 as well. So I expect when I go into Gameweek 30 to probably be around about 110, 120k. If it doesn't get worse over the next 2 weeks, I'll be quite pleased. Techzo says, hope Bielsa comes in for the Southampton job if they change. Can't see that. Saints already use a pressing system. Would be nice to see Bielsa back in the league with a bit more budget. Listen, with Bielsa was great for the league. They was certainly great for us neutrals. Richard Saunders, Irvin, cheers, Bud. Elron covered any idea why Ian Asher doesn't play much for Leicester. This one I discussed on the Team News stream with our advanced tier patrons last night as well. I was like, well, what's going on there? You might as well go and sit on the bench back at Man City or like come to Tottenham and be Kane's back up or something. I don't know, mate. He finished last season so well. If he went to another Premier League club, which one would suit him? It needs to be someone who's going to go and play. Like, I think something like Brighton. Actually, Martin Bruce's worst airport equals Vientiane for me. There was a cow in the middle of the runway. Moody. Glenn Murray says, Surge Shush, I've just bought a 4-pack Whisper because it will be the wife that eats them. Mosha, KWP does not start inside source. Al Hayman. Okay, fucks that. Anteater 23 Nagelsmann, I did say, Ashwin, I know this has been covered in the past, but can you talk about some advice on how to plan for game week 30 onwards, bench boost for... Mate, I did a whole podcast on this yesterday. And it's very dependent on the strategy and that. I'd honestly recommend that yesterday, mate. And who cares about MotoGP, mate? Terrific, good luck, enjoy it. Roger says Bamford is back on the bench. Presumably teams are out, aren't they? Romanthan says, your lineups. Should we have a look at them quick? So what we got? I mean, I think Sam Martin had tweeted the Leicester team last night, which I thought looked like a diamond when I saw it, if he was correct, which I have no reason to believe that Sam would have been incorrect. Yeah, Sam spot on probably. So, although the way they've got it lined up suggests a back four. I think that might be Albrighton right back, Chowdhury in a holding midfield, possibly. There might be 4-2-2 too. They might even match that. But Harvey Barnes might play striker today. That Leicester team is exactly what Sam tweeted last night, so that's not a surprise. Leeds team is probably more interesting. So what we got? So it looks like Rodrigo James up front. Yeah, I think the only question mark there was who's going to play up front, and it's either going to be Rodrigo or Rodrigo and James, depending on the setup. The way that Leeds account have tweeted it out suggests to me that might be a diamond as well. We might get diamond versus diamond, which would be interesting because neither side often plays that. So I'm really looking forward to that game, actually. Matt S, have you ever visited North America? Yes. When I was little, went to Canada, went to Niagara Falls and stepped over, so I've technically been in the USA as well. Bamford on the bench for Leeds. Bielsa was just saying last week he might be back by the end of the season to being on the bench right after he leaves. Yeah, something else we discussed. Phillips and Cooper are really close as well. FPL Bix, hi James. If there was going to be a celebrity FPL boxing tournament, who do you think would win? Celebrity boxing tournament, like who's big? I mean, the Rock isn't a boxer, is it? So we like put him and other wrestlers in there. So we put them in there, or UFC fighters. A lot of them are celebrities now. Matt S is Zidane top 10. Yeah, maybe. One Samuel, do you believe in God? No, I don't mean that harshly. If you do, that's absolutely fine. I just don't. I don't follow any particular religion, but certainly respect everybody that does follow one. Laser79 says, the wife and I really enjoy your podcast. Thanks for the amazing content. James, up the Saints. Good luck, mate. Ashwin says, why isn't anyone suggesting Ziyech for the double game week when he has scored in the last 4 games and Tuchel has confirmed his availability? Because deadline's gone, mate. Matt says, thanks for the great content. James is giving a round of applause. Thanks, mate. That's the end. This has gone on quite long. I'm going to cover Chris Woodruff's stuff because this is kind of the right place to cover it. I'm not going to cover any more questions. But Chris Woodruff says, I know this is a sensitive topic, so if you prefer not to answer, feel free. You said you used to work in the gambling industry. What led you to leave? Do you ever bet? I very rarely bet anymore. I might stick like 100 quid on someone to win the World Cup or something, but week to week I don't. The reason I left was I would describe the betting company that I worked for, I would describe left me in a position of disgraceful working conditions in terms of the amount of people that they would employ, and left me in a position where I was really struggling, and I have no problem admitting it, badly struggling with mental health in terms of I was definitely in a depression state. So that's why. Simple as that. And I'm very fortunate now that I'm in a very, very good place with obviously the podcast, etc. So the reason I left wasn't, in all honesty, ethical things against gambling. I don't have problem with people gambling, none whatsoever. That's fine. I mention betting odds quite often on the podcast and stuff in terms of referencing probability and stuff. Don't have an issue with it at all. I am also aware, however, the links between gambling and FPL and the danger of that. Where and this works both ways. So I've had people say FPL, you can get muted forever. I know that FPL has helped people with their gambling issues in terms of it's kind of made a different gambling addiction, if you will, but it's without losing the money. So FPL has definitely been a positive in terms of taking people away from gambling. But I also understand that FPL has an addictive nature, and therefore the links of gambling and FPL can be very dangerous for other people. So there's two sides of the coin to that. We've obviously said that, and we've had a number of offers in terms of having link up with a gambling company. We just personally don't think it's particularly the right thing to do. We could have cashed in a lot of money a long time ago on this. We've decided not to go down that route because we don't think it's the right thing to do. I've said to people before, and my patrons know this, that I would never promise that we won't agree to a sponsorship with someone and have someone on board. It will not be a gambling company. We won't go down that route. So the reason I left had nothing to do with the ethics of gambling, essentially. At the end of the day, you got to put food on the table, right? And that was a job for me for 10, 11 years, and I learnt a lot doing it, etc. Would I ever go back? I got told when I handed my resignation, you'll be back. No, I fucking won't. And literally, that's how they were. Arrogant fuckers. I won't name the company. All right, cool. And they're probably, the majority of them are bad ethically. I mean, it doesn't help when even the Gambling Commission stitched everyone up over Football Index, haven't they? Yeah, that's a podcast we may be revisiting again for a second time in the near future as well. Right, I'll leave it there because that's kind of a depressing end. Thanks very much, guys. Smash a like, hit the sub button on your way out. A reminder, obviously, as well, in terms of the content, me and Sid will be on Black Box on Wednesday evening with Az as well. Really looking forward to that. Other than that, guys, enjoy the football. Relax. Your decisions have been made. You cannot influence it now. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the football. Thanks for all the support, guys. Have a great weekend. Ciao for now.